Hi friends, welcome back once again on the online class of social studies. In the first chapter we had seen about resources, right? I hope you enjoyed the chapter. It was very simple and very interesting chapter. You had given test yesterday. I have shared the model answer key. So you should know how to answer the questions now. I hope the test was simple because we had taken for only one chapter. Now we'll go ahead with the next chapter. Now this chapter is connected with our first chapter because if you remember, the first chapter was resources, and in that what we had seen that resources are things which fulfill our needs. So now we are going to see this chapter, that is land, soil, water, natural vegetation and wildlife resources. So these are all resources. They are very useful to us. So we'll go through this chapter like how they are useful to us, how important they are for us. Each and every resource, that is land, soil, water, natural vegetation and wildlife resources. Now if you remember, we had seen the classification of resources based on origin, whether the resource is originating from a living source or a non-living source. So now we can clearly see here the natural vegetation and wildlife resources. They are what? Do you remember? We had classified into biotic and abiotic. So these are biotic because they are coming from a live source. So wildlife, natural vegetation and wildlife resources, they are living things. So we call it a biotic resource. Whereas when you talk about land, soil and water, they are abiotic resources. Fine. Okay, so going ahead, if you see land, soil, water, these are abiotic resources, or they come to a category of abiotic resources, and also they are very important for us. Whereas natural vegetation and wildlife resources come under biotic resources. I hope you remember we had seen the classification of resources. In this we had seen that the resources can be classified based on the source which it comes from or from where it originates. So either it can be living thing or non-living thing. Living things are called as biotic, non-living thing they are called as abiotic resources. So I hope it is very clear to you. Now whether it's a biotic resource or abiotic resource, it doesn't matter for us as of now. The matter is both the things, biotic as well as abiotic, they are important for us. So if you see like land, soil, water, so all are important, and the most important, if you think about the stock, when you talk about renewable and non-renewable, so whether these resources are renewable or non-renewable, that also matters for us. Like either biotic or abiotic, both type of resources are exhaustible. Exhaustible means if you don't use it properly in a judicial way, it can exhaust, it can deplete. A time will come when the resource will not be available for us. So we have to use it in a proper way, in a very judicial way. Okay. So either biotic or abiotic, both type of resource are exhaustible in nature. So judicial use. Use means you have to use your mind and you have to use it in a very proper way. You have to reuse it, you have to recycle it. So all these conservation techniques should be there so that these resources do not get exhausted and we can use it for a long time. Fine. Now we'll go ahead with each of these resources which we have talked about. The first one was land. We'll go with land. Land is the most important resource for us because we stay on land, we get food, it is produced from land. Either you say fruits, vegetables, food grains, whatever, it is produced from land. So land is a very important resource for us. But the land in the whole earth is only 30%, which you know. 30% is land and 70% is covered with water. If you see the globe or if you see the earth, 30% of it is land and 70% of it is water. So land is almost covers the 30% of earth's surface. Yeah, land is among the most important natural resources. It's a natural resource, of course. Land covers about 30% of total area of the earth's surface. This we all know. Now the interesting fact is On the whole earth, land surface is just 30%. But if you see, 90% of population lives in 30% of this 30%. Getting confused? Okay, I'll tell you. Suppose there is a piece of land. We say it is 100 kilometer square. You know, area is always in square. So 100 kilometer square area is there. Suppose this is earth. Let us take it. This is earth. So out of this, only 30 kilometer square is land. We had said that 30% of earth's surface is land. Now in this 30 kilometer square also, out of this 30%, which will come roughly around 9%, right? 30% of 30. How much? I think you are very good in mathematics. Swarup sir told me. So you know the calculation. Yeah, it's almost, not almost, it's perfectly 9%. So now try to understand. In the total earth, only on 9% land, 90% people are living. On 9% of total land available on the earth, on total earth, only 9% of land is used by people to stay, to live. Okay? I hope I've made it more, I'm explaining it more. It's not of very much importance, but you should know that out of the total land, only 30% of land is inhabited by people. Inhabited means people are living there. Okay? So we'll see the next point. 90% of the world population occupies only 30% of land area. Okay? Understood this point? Okay. The remaining 70% of land is occupied, is either sparsely populated or uninhabited. Now try to understand these words. Sparsely populated. That means very few people will be there. Very small amount. Sparse means very scattered. They will not be dense. It is scattered. It is spread out. So it's sparsely populated. Means in an area of 10 kilometers, only 3 or 4 families are there. That is sparsely populated. Or it is uninhabited. Like places like Arctic zone or Antarctic zone, people doesn't stay there. Sahara desert, a very big desert. It's full of sand and all these things. The biggest desert. There also people don't live. So they are called uninhabited. Now this is because of many factors. Like why a place is very much populated and why the place is not populated. It is either uninhabited or it is sparsely populated. There must be certain reasons behind this. So we'll go through these reasons now. Land is unevenly inhabited. Uneven means it is not same everywhere. At some places there is a lot of population. In some places there is very less population or people don't live at all there. Like we have seen the words sparsely populated or uninhabited. Uninhabited means people don't live there or they don't stay there. Okay, fine. Land is unevenly inhabited due to various factors of land and climate. Land climate, like if I talk about Arctic zone, it is totally covered with snow all the time. 365 days it will be totally covered with snow. There people cannot produce food grains. How would they survive then? And then climate is very cold in those places, so they cannot stay there. Water fertility of soil. If the soil is not fertile, how could the people do the agriculture? How could they grow food grains and how can they stay there? What will they have to eat? So because of all these factors like land, climate and water fertility of soil, the land is unevenly inhabited. I hope it is very clear to this line. Also apart from this, there are certain things like maybe in Himalayas, it is also totally covered with snow. So people don't stay there. In the lesser Himalayas, I think you know all these things. In 8th standard you have this full physical features of India. So you know all these places. So even in Himalayas there are certain pockets or places where people are sparsely populated, or that places are sparsely populated. Only few people live there. It is because of the topography. Because in mountains people live, but very few people live there. Because climbing up the mountains, coming down, the topography means the relief. Whether it's a desert, whether it's a plateau, whatever it is. So the topography is very rugged, it is not smooth. So people cannot stay there, or they'll feel uncomfortable to stay there, live there. Okay, normally the sparsely populated or uninhabited areas are because of rugged topography, like in mountains, steep slopes of the mountains, low-lying areas, very low-lying areas which are very low. Why people don't stay there, or why it is sparsely populated? Because they are flood-prone. If they are low-lying areas, if it rains heavily, flood will be there. So their crops, their homes, everything will be destroyed. So people try to avoid living there. So it is either sparsely populated or uninhabited. Deserted areas, like desert areas, total deserts are there. There also the climatic conditions are very extreme. In daytime it's very hot, and in winters, the night time it is very cold. It goes to minus certain degrees. Thickly forested areas, it's not safe for living. So now if it's very interesting forest areas, you can see in certain forests few people live in small villages, so it's very sparsely populated. But there are certain forests like Amazon forest, people don't live there because of the it's not safe living there, because of wild animals, because it's continuously raining there. So all these reasons, so because of this, it is uninhabited or it is sparsely populated. Now the densely populated areas, why certain areas are very densely populated? That is because the densely populated areas of the world have plains. It's a plain land. It's not rugged topography. It's a plain land, so their fertility is good. River valleys, because river valleys are there, which have suitable land for agriculture. So generally plains, because the land is very fertile, and there they can do agriculture. River valleys, of course, river is there, water is there, land is there, so they can do agriculture here also. So this is one of the benefits, we can say. Because of these features, these places are densely populated. Which places? Generally plains and river valleys. Fine. The availability of rich and fertile land make it suitable for living, and a huge population resides on it. Resides means the word comes like residence. They live there. So because of rich and fertile land, it is suitable for living, because they can grow food crops, food grains, and they can survive there. So there is a lot of rich population. Now there are certain places where you do not have a very fertile or rich and fertile land. You do not have plains, you don't have river valleys, but still people are living there. There are certain places. Why? Like if you talk about Jharkhand, the land is not so fertile, the river valleys are not there, but the question is they are very rich in minerals. So extraction of mineral goes there, and because of this they get job opportunities, they get certain money from which they can buy the food. So people also stay in certain places. Mineral richness, water resources, fertility of soil, and good topographic conditions are important. So all this what we have seen, all these factors we are coming to the conclusion. Mineral resources, water resources, fertility of soil, and good topographical conditions are important for any particular place to be densely populated, or for inhabitation of people. It is very important. I hope we are very clear with this all topics now. We'll have just a brief recap about this. We'll go just very quickly. What was the name of the chapter? Land, soil, water, wildlife resources, and anyone? Okay, wildlife means it was animals, then plants. So natural vegetation. Fine. So now land, soil, water, they are abiotic resources, whereas natural vegetation and wildlife resources are biotic. Whatever it may be, biotic or abiotic, they are important for us, and we have to use it properly, because both are exhaustible. About land, we had seen 30% of earth is covered by land. In this 30% also, 30% is densely populated by people, and the remaining 70% is either sparsely populated or it is uninhabited. Right? Now coming to next, we had seen why the land is unevenly inhabited. I'm very sorry. Land is unevenly inhabited. Why? Because of certain factors like land, climate, water, fertility of soil, etc. Then we had seen that sparsely populated or uninhabited areas, they are because of what? Because of topography, steep slopes of the mountains, low-lying areas which is flood prone. deserted areas, thick forest, people don't stay there, or there it's very sparsely populated, very few people stay there. Then we had seen the densely populated areas of the world have generally plains, river valleys, which have suitable land for agriculture. Also, the availability of rich and fertile land, which makes it suitable for their living. And last, we concluded this thing with mineral richness. There should be some mineral resources available in that place, water resources, fertility of soil, and good topography. Either all of them or few of them are the requisite factors which make that land an inhabitable land. People could stay there. Either all these factors should be there, which we are seeing in the last point, or any few of them. Either one or two of them are also there, then also fine. People can stay there. So now we have seen the distribution of land actually. This is the distribution of land, how people use the land for living. In the next video, we will go with the uses of land. We'll see many things. We'll see uses of land, then how there is land degradation, the problems which are facing, how we can conserve the land. All these things will go with our next video. I hope you enjoyed the video. You have my number. If you have any doubts, you can ask me anytime. Thank you. Have a nice day.